not doing the next thing or actually just starting, I've been failing to move forward. And here's some things that have helped me to the next stage. So I've come down to Columbus, Ohio to spend the weekend with my wife. Getaway, got a little Airbnb, and we ended up staying across from this park behind me, named after a gentleman named Lincoln Goodall. This guy, there's a busk on the other side. We stopped and read it. And it got me thinking about a couple other plaques that were in here that we read. One about an African American that was a pallbearer for when President Lincoln was assassinated. And it got me thinking about, back in the day, people just did shit, right? I mean, people just did things. Like they were a doctor. Lincoln Goodall was the first physician that lived in Columbus, Ohio, and this property that I'm walking around in right now was donated by him, only with the idea that it would forever be a park. And one of the other guys that we read about in the park, he was awarded for so many things, and it was just because he did stuff. Like, people back in the day just seemed to do stuff. They just seemed to actually, say that, hey, this is what I'm going to do. There's no other distractions going on, and they just became somebody active in their community, somebody active in their government, somebody active in their own education. And so that got me thinking that, it's not really about what you're trying to accomplish. It's about starting. It's about actually doing that thing that you say you want to do. And then you got to question, like, how do you do it? How do you get to the next stage? When you sort of review history, you get some good insights on, people, it seemed like they moved differently. And I think a lot of it was because you didn't have the distraction of the days. You didn't have television and, obviously no social media. And so how do you start? Like how do I start? So the first thing is just what you're seeing me do, this video. I started doing these videos, and I've had to come up with subjects and ideas and things to talk about. Sometimes they're sort of thought out a little bit, where I've got bullet points written down. Other times they're absolutely not. They're just, I think it's something I want to talk about it, like this one right here. And so it came to mind, so I decided, hey, let's start this. So moving forward and thinking about, like, how do I keep making these videos? How do I keep coming up with ideas? I'm not sure about that, but I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do these videos and keep putting it out there to say, hey people, it is possible to move forward. You just have to move. And then, so when you decide you're going to move, so what do you want to make sure that the movement you're making is towards the outcome that you want, the outcome you desire. If you foresee yourself owning multifamily and a bunch of them and gaining enough where you get the opportunity to then leave your W-2, and that's what you do. You work in real estate. You manage these multifamily units. Well, how do you do it? How do you move forward? I have found, obviously just doing it, but then, potentially making a plan. It doesn't have to be a full, multi-segmented document. It could be just a plan. Hey, here's where I want to go. How do I get to the first step? And so it's becoming educated on the subject you're interested in. If you're trying to go into, multifamily, as I said, if you're trying to go into potentially short-term rental, mid-term rental, if you're going into some level of development, it's all about saying, this is where I want to go, and here's my next step. I mentioned this in one of my other videos. The next step is to put yourself around people that are already doing it. So if you look for anybody in your community. Reach out to real estate agents. Reach out to and look for that. It was suggested that potentially speak to accountants, speak to lawyers in your area, because they're going to know a lot of people that are doing different things than you are. And they may just put you in a position where you can communicate with somebody you didn't even know in your area that's doing the thing you want to do. Do you want to be a business developer? Do you want to own a franchise? Put yourself into that community where you can say, hey, I'm interested in this, and how can I learn more about it? And then, it's also real good to track your progress. I'm sure, these people that, like Lincoln Goodall that donated this property, he probably was tracking what he was doing, but he probably had other people around him. I don't think it's changed from over 100 years ago to say, well, how do I continue to proceed, and what are the measurable steps to see if I'm actually getting there? So make some level of metrics. Mine for the path that I'm going is I'm doing these videos. I see them starting to count up, on my channel, and it's become, nowadays it's pretty easy to track things. You can track it through, using an Excel spreadsheet. You can track it through, an app on your phone, or you can just go back to the good old-fashioned way of doing it, which was pen to paper. I've got a binder, or I've got a planner, and each day I write down what I got accomplished, or each day I write down what I want to accomplish, and then I check it off. So it really is a matter of now putting yourself in a situation where, okay, I've got an idea, I've taken the first step in that idea, start educating myself, put myself in a community around people that are already doing it, asking, honest questions, and really digging into where can I find that launching point, and then tracking it. You're putting some tracking method into place that gives you quantifiable results, and then you can then see what your next step is. So, back to when I'm thinking about, the people that have, in history have done things, or the people, 100 years ago that, lived in this community that I'm walking around in right now. And, what was that driving force that they said, maybe they didn't even consciously say they want to make change, but they consciously said, I want to be different. And, society was definitely different back then, where, striving to do better was very common in the world. You always wanted to do something better, and not just be hanging around, and not just be, a burden to your community, your family, or, even yourself. So how can you put yourself in that position to start? How can you put yourself in that position to ask the right questions, to become the person that you're destined to be, and yet also, be true to yourself and to your family and to your friends? And I'm pretty much positive that it starts with you. And if it helps, look back at history. Find somebody you can emulate. Find somebody you can reference. It might be somebody you've heard of before, Abraham Lincoln, one of the Rockefellers, maybe a current person you feel that is moving forward. But maybe it could be something as simple as walking through a park that you never knew existed, reading the plaque on a statue of a gentleman that you had no idea who he was, and finding that this guy was the first doctor in Columbus, Ohio, that then became very successful, did a multitude of other things, and then donated this land to the city once again, with the designation that it will always be an open space in a park for the city and the people to enjoy. So my challenge to you is, pause for a minute, realize that all you have to do to get to the place you want to be is just move, just take action on something. And maybe just one day you'll put yourself in a position where somebody's walking around in a park named after you that reminds people that people in the past really took action on things and didn't let others dictate what they would do because society expected people to do great things. And I'm hoping that we're starting to get back there, because I think we may have lost a little bit of that in our country and in society. And I think having an expectation, as I've said in other videos, that it's okay to have expectation, and society having expectation of its people should be something we do. So, love to know your thoughts. Please comment below. Also, subscribe to the channel. It really helps. And until we talk again, live life like you mean it.